Hello everyone, this is a short video on the proposal. As you can see, we are looking at week 5 of the class, and the week 5 goal is to finish the proposal this week. A sub-goal is to start the SOP, and that is a worthwhile and ambitious goal, but at the very least, let's focus on finishing the proposal. There will be a peer review this week. I am going to assign people into groups of students who are doing similar activities, and you should have a proposal available for upload by Wednesday evening, or at the very latest Thursday morning. It might be a slightly rough draft, and that's okay. You have until the end of the week to finish it, but we have got to get this thing going. So there's a couple of documents I just want to draw your attention to. None of them are new necessarily, but we haven't talked about some of them, and I want to, in this video, just map out a structure for the proposal. So the main document that I want y'all to be aware of is this one. It's called the brainstorming document for the proposal. I linked this in a class-wide message. It is also linked on Canvas in a couple of places. Just in case somebody didn't get it, let me quickly show you how to get here. So I have come back to our Canvas page, and I want to go to Files. If I go to Files, I will bring up a number of subfolders, and it is worth noting the student example folder you should be highly aware of. There are several different proposals in here, several different SOPs, and if you haven't clicked on this and read through it yet, please be aware of that. The main one I want to click on right now is called Additional Materials, and this one is going to have a number of little brainstorming activities and little kind of wrap-up activities. Now, the one that I want to focus on right now, and this is nowhere near as organized as it ought to be, but is this one right here, proposal brainstorming. If I click on that document, it's going to bring up a PDF that looks like this, and it has a sort of a template for the proposal and the different moves you're expected to make. I would like to walk through it really quickly. The introduction should make a set of identifiable rhetorical moves. Here they are in template format. Explain something important that your audience cares about. Bring up some problem or inefficiency or potential threat that may trouble the audience. Offer a solution to the problem in the form of your proposed project. This is something I'm going to be looking for in the introduction of your proposal. It is a stable set of moves that you will see in pretty much every single proposal. We've seen a couple of examples of this already. One is out of the Jones and Lanes chapter. So this is the chapter on technical communication. I'm going to skip forward several pages to that sample proposal that comes up on page 10. This is the one on making a schedule for computer maintenance. It is an internal memo within a company, and this is very much the format I would expect your proposal to be written in. It doesn't have to be like the Burkholder grant where there's a table of contents and just a ton of preliminary stuff. Instead, just a simple internal memo is fine. Notice there should be some sort of subject line, and most of the samples that are on Canvas have something similar to this. Proposal to write a recommendation report on PC maintenance program. And then in the introduction, they quickly say, here's a problem and we are offering to solve it. Just the opening couple of lines. We request permission to write a recommendation report to present a PC maintenance program to Integrated Marketing Company. This organization has a network of 50 personal computers with no current maintenance program in place. That line right there is sort of setting up an opportunity for them to come in and solve this problem. This has a name in research papers. This is called CARS. It's where you create a research space. In a lot of grant writing workshops, they will call this the make a gap move, where you're kind of looking for some gap in a company's like current program, and you're offering to help them close that gap. It's an absolutely necessary move. I'm going to be looking for it in the proposals that you write. Let's quickly examine 2 student proposals, and there are 4 or 5 of them posted on Canvas, but I want to bring up 2 of them. So if I go to student examples, just show you the 2 that I'm looking at here. One is on a violin, that's example number 4, and then one, and I think probably overall the strongest one of all the proposals, student proposals, is example 2 on image analysis. Now, if I look at both of those, you will see this move. I will not read the whole thing out loud. Let's see, let's go to the one on image analysis. But the student does an admirable job of making this move. So we've got kind of the short version of what the project is, and then we get down to the introduction, and the student starts talking about image analysis, how important it is, and how it's crucial for the work that lab does. And then right here, she kind of opens the gap, or opens an opportunity for her to contribute something. Normal image analysis is essential for collecting data and furthering the goals of our lab. Thus, finding a way to educate lab aides and producing high quality, accurate data presents a pressing challenge. And she kind of goes on about that, about the importance of consistency, and about how there is no standardization, and an SOP will help facilitate like better activity within the lab. If we look at the one on violin maintenance, she has a move in which she's talking about how Summer Hayes is a really reputable business, and how they rely a lot on their reputation. And then she has this line right here which kind of opens the gap. She's talking about how Summer Hayes has a wide variety of cleaning products and repair products for violin owners. However, many violin owners are not aware of the steps needed to care for their instruments, and therefore do not take advantage of these resources, resulting in damages and premature deterioration of their instruments. And then she goes on to talk about how this tarnishes Summer Hayes' reputation. This move I am absolutely expecting you to make in the proposal. There should be some move in the introduction where you say, here's a problem, now I'm going to offer a solution for it. So let's turn back to the brainstorming sheet and work our way through some of the rest of these. And I've got to wrap this video up quick. I don't want to bore people with too much detail, but let's talk about some of these moves. So the background section is, if you were writing a professional research grant, this is where you would go like review the literature, and you look into like some of the past studies on whatever issue you're studying. In the context of like an internal company memo, this is where you sort of elaborate on the problem you're trying to solve. In the case of Summer Hayes Music, you talk about how important it is to have a good maintenance schedule on a violin, and how a lot of customers don't understand this, or whatever. It's where you start talking about, it's where you continue to talk about the problem in greater detail. Map it out, describe why it's a problem, and give the reader like a thorough idea of like what it is that you're trying to solve with your project. The rationale section is where you get into the cause and effect arguments, how your SOP is going to help that company or that institution. This is where you make an argument, so to speak. You should, and I said this to many people on the brainstorming exercise, you should be focusing on people problems, on the sorts of problems that SOPs are meant to solve. So if you're writing to a professor, keep in mind that professor is constantly working with a turnover rate of student employees or student assistants, and so part of the rationale should address the difficulties that come with that come with a constantly shifting workforce. Same goes for business, for that matter. A lot of businesses suffer from high turnover rates, and the rationale section would make a case that your SOP will allow for consistency regardless of the personnel that come in and out of that place of business or in and out of that lab. And there's other arguments to be made too. I shouldn't just focus just on employee turnover. Any sort of arguments that can like promote the SOP is a good idea. The rationale is where you sort of make them. Methodology is where you talk about your intentions as an SOP author and how you're going to make sure that the document is credible. You should explicitly mention the user testing. That is a line that ought to come up in your methodology, because that is one of the methods that you are going to use to ensure that the document is effective. This is also an opportunity to talk about your own personal experience and your expertise, and anything else that you can put in that will describe how it is that you're going to write the document and how it is that you're going to make sure it's a successful document. Occasionally students have gotten mixed up on methodology. They thought it was asking them to actually write the SOP. Please don't do that. You should not have a mini SOP embedded in this proposal. The methodology is where you talk about how you will write the SOP. You might say something about the scope of the overall procedure, but don't get carried away writing a mini version of the procedure. It should be the methodology section should address how it is that you're going to make sure that the SOP is credible. And then finally, you should end with what is sometimes called expected results, sometimes called conclusion, sometimes called application. This should be an optimistic view of what your document will accomplish if it's implemented. It should focus on how it will benefit the audience for the proposal and how it will solve the problem that was laid out in the background section. This proposal should not be very long. You can see on the two student examples that I have up here on screen, there are 2 pages. This one is on image analysis. Yep, both of them are 2 pages, single spaced. They're sort of in a memo format. A date should be included on them, and you should have a mini subject line that kind of says, here's what this is about. Student should be, your name should be right here, and then and you get going with the introduction. Please don't double space these. Proposals are almost always going to be single spaced memo format, and please don't write too much or too little. Occasionally I've had students that have handed in like 6-page proposals, and on one hand I appreciate the work that goes into that. On the other hand, that's something that is often going to be rejected by the audience. If you're writing like 2 or 3 times the required length, don't do that. You should be able to accomplish this within 3 pages of single-spaced writing. Likewise, don't write too little. Occasionally I've had students write just 1 page. It should be a little bit more than that. I'd say a page and a half should be considered an absolute minimum, and shoot for 2 pages as the ideal length. If you have questions about any of this, please give me a message on Canvas, and please get to work on this proposal. Like I said, we're going to be having peer review this week. I will be sending out a message about that, and get to writing this thing, folks, and let's keep in touch if you have questions. Thanks.